The diplomatic quarters aboard the UES Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-maintained starship, but William Chen couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to go very wrong. As the youngest xenobiologist ever assigned to first contact protocols, he'd studied every known alien species in the galaxy. What he hadn't studied was how to handle a 3-foot-tall Wolfgirl who seemed determined to bite anyone who looked at her wrong. Her name is Naz, Admiral Torres had explained earlier, her weathered face creased with what might have been amusement. She's the youngest member of the Lycan delegation from Fenris Prime. Apparently she's some kind of prodigy, their equivalent of a doctoral student in interstellar relations. Now watching the tiny alien pace back and forth in the observation lounge like a caged predator, William wondered if the Admiral's definition of prodigy was the same as his. Naz stood barely as tall as his waist, covered in silver-gray fur that caught the starlight streaming through the massive viewport. Her wolf-like ears twitched constantly, swiveling toward every sound, and her amber eyes held an intelligence that seemed far too ancient for her diminutive frame. "The human delegation will arrive shortly," William said, keeping his voice calm and professional. "Is there anything you need to feel more comfortable?" Naz's ears flattened against her skull. "Comfortable?" Her voice was higher pitched than he'd expected, with a slight growl underlying each word. "I'm trapped in a metal box flying through, the void with creatures that smell like industrial soap and processed nutrients. The only thing that would make me comfortable is solid ground beneath my paws and a proper hunt." William blinked. The translator had been working perfectly during the formal ceremonies, but now he was getting a much clearer picture of what the Lycan delegate really thought of humans. "I understand this must be difficult. Space travel affects different species, in different ways." "Different?" Naz barked out a laugh that was more yip than anything else. "Your people build machines to do everything for you. You've forgotten how to use your noses, your ears, your instincts. How do you even survive?" Before William could formulate a diplomatic response, Naz suddenly froze, her ears pricking forward. A moment later, the door chimed, and Ambassador Harrison entered with his usual entourage of advisors and protocol specialists. "Ah, Dr. Chen," Harrison said, his politician's smile gleaming. "And this must be our charming young delegate from Fenris Prime." William watched in horror as Harrison approached Naz with the same condescending manner he used with human children. The ambassador actually reached out toward her ears, those incredibly expressive, obviously sensitive ears that had been signaling her emotional state throughout their conversation. "What fascinating," Harrison began. "If you rub my ears again, I'll bite you." Naz snarled, backing away from the ambassador's outstretched hand, her lips pulled back to reveal sharp, definitely non-decorative canine teeth. The room fell silent. Harrison's advisors shifted nervously, hands moving toward their emergency communicators. William could practically see the diplomatic incident reports being drafted in their heads. But William had spent the last hour watching Naz, learning to read the subtle signs of her body language. This wasn't random aggression. This was a brilliant young mind pushed past its tolerance for condescension and cultural blindness. "Ambassador Harrison," William said quickly, stepping between the politician and the small alien. "In Lycan culture, touching someone's ears without permission is considered extremely inappropriate. It would be like a stranger grabbing your face during a first meeting." Harrison's face flushed. "I was simply trying to—" "You were trying to treat me like a pet," Naz interrupted, her tail bristling. "Just like the previous 3 humans who've greeted me since I arrived. You see the ears, the fur, the size, and you assume I'm some kind of domesticated animal." The truth of her words hung in the air like an accusation. William had seen it himself, the way humans instinctively responded to anything small and furry with the urge to pet and coddle. But Naz wasn't a pet. She was a representative of a species that had achieved faster-than-light travel, developed sophisticated social structures, and agreed to these talks as equals. "You're absolutely right," William said, ignoring the shocked looks from Harrison's team. "And I apologize on behalf of our species. We have a cultural tendency to respond inappropriately to physical characteristics that remind us of our domestic animals. Naz's ears twitched forward slightly. A sign he was learning meant surprise or interest. You acknowledge the failing? I acknowledge that humans often let their evolutionary programming override their intelligence, William replied. We domesticated wolves thousands of years ago. When we see features that remind us of those companions, we react emotionally instead of intellectually. For the first time since he'd met her, Naz's tail stopped bristling. She studied him with those ancient amber eyes, and William had the distinct feeling he was being evaluated by criteria he couldn't begin to understand. Your species tamed wolves, she said slowly, but you never forgot that they were once wild. Some of us remember, William said, the ones who pay attention. Naz nodded once, sharp and decisive. Then she turned to face Ambassador Harrison and his increasingly nervous advisors. I came here because my pack leaders believe your species has potential, she said, her voice carrying authority that seemed impossible from someone her size. You've spread across the galaxy faster than any species we've encountered. You adapt. You survive. You even thrive in environments that would kill most others. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across each human in the room. But potential means nothing without wisdom. If you want an alliance with the Lycan Republic, you need to prove you can see beyond your own evolutionary prejudices. You need to prove you can recognize intelligence that doesn't look like your own. Ambassador Harrison cleared his throat, his political training finally reasserting itself. Of course, Delegate Naz. We deeply respect. Respect is earned. Naz cut him off. Dr. Chen has begun to earn it. You have not. William felt a strange warmth in his chest as those amber eyes turned back to him. For the first time since joining the diplomatic corps, he felt like he might actually be good at this job. Perhaps, Naz continued, we should begin these negotiations with a proper understanding. I am not your pet. I am not your child. I am a scholar, a diplomat, and a hunter who has chosen to give your species a chance to prove itself worthy of alliance. She bared her teeth in what William was learning to recognize as a smile rather than a threat. But if anyone else tries to pat my head, I really will bite them. The negotiations that followed would later be remembered as a turning point in human-alien relations, the moment humanity learned that true diplomacy meant seeing beyond the surface to recognize the intelligence within. And William would always remember the tiny alien Wolfgirl who taught him that the most profound wisdom sometimes came in the smallest packages.